Okay, it's Monday night. It's squat night. This is going to be your third time squatting. So I'm not really going to be having to like pick her apart like a very first time ever squatter in tonight's session, but I am going to cue her a little bit. So for those of you who are kind of interested in seeing the cues and the technique and form, I'll be doing that with her. I'm just going to be going through my training, and then we're just going to be kind of talking between sets and just kind of hanging out. We're actually talking about a meet, so we're just going to pick up. We actually were just talking about that, so we're going to pick up what we were discussing. For those of you who want the gym feel and atmosphere, that's what these videos are going to be. It's not just going to be like how to train or my training or her training. It's just going to be us in the gym doing our thing. So like I was saying, as far as it goes for that, since this is your first actual like time training for powerlifting, we'll train you to the end of July, which will be about 5 weeks of training, kind of get you your form and technique down where it needs to be, as close as we can get it. Of course, you're always going to be improving in technique. As you gain weight, as you lose weight, your form and technique will change as your body mass changes because your leverages will change. And then we'll take a week off, and then we could program you for 12 weeks after that. Do a actual full peak, and then we can do a mock meet, max you out, see what your actual max squat, bench, and deadlift is in the same environment as an actual meet. So we'll do all 3 attempts on squat, and then we'll move to bench, do all 3 attempts on bench, move to deadlift, do all 3 attempts on deadlift. And that way you'll have a true understanding of where your max, your 1 rep max are. And then after that, we could take 2 months to bodybuild, work on all the little areas we don't normally work on when we're powerlifting, and then come back January, find a meet March, April, or May, and then figure out if we need to train you 12, 14, or 16 weeks up to that meet, and then we can build you and peak you for that meet. And then we could go to that meet. And that way we'll know what your percentages are, so we can program your actual 12, 14, 16 week program, whatever we decide to do. We can actually program that according to what your known 1 rep maxes are. Yeah. So your percentages will be correct, because let's say your bench press is like 150 is your 1 rep max. We don't know that. And so we might be assuming, okay, your 1 rep max is 120 and we're way off and we undershoot, or it might be 120 and we're assuming it's 150 and then we're way off on the percentages, and then we're not training optimal for what your strength levels are. So doing this to get the form down and not worrying really about weight, and then come in for another 12 weeks, let's really worry about the weight and see what we can do, and then peak you. And then from there, let's do some bodybuilding just to kind of give the joints a break and build up the muscle mass. And then we can follow through, we can follow suit from there, which I think that's gonna be the best thing for you and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm gonna join. I'll definitely coach you and go and support you, be there for you, because at that given point in time next year, I might be venturing off of powerlifting, going more towards bodybuilding and competing in bodybuilding. So I'll just see where my mindset is, because who knows, a switch might flip. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna powerlift, I'm gonna do it one more time. I got one more in me. Or I might just be like, nah, I'm gonna change gears and go into bodybuilding and pursue competing in bodybuilding and not powerlift no more or whatever, but still powerlift for fun like I am right now. We'll train powerlifting and stuff like that. So we'll see how we go for that. So, or we'll see how things go, should I say. And tonight, I'm working up to, I guess I'm gonna go 235 for 5 tonight on my top set. I think what I'm gonna run for. And this looks excessively high, to be honest. I think I might need to come down one on this. Let me see, hold on. Yes. Yeah, it'll be fine, that'll be fine. What did you do last week on yours?
55.
55, okay. Yeah, working on form and technique, you don't have to really worry about load. I mean, ideal is to get stronger so you can add more weight, which... No, I'm just putting the clips on. No, so like I said, generally speaking, we want to get you stronger, so that way we can add more weight to the bar. But what I think is way more important that people don't like think about, when people first start getting into strength training like powerlifting, the first thing they want to do is, let's max out. How much can you lift? Like, how much can you bench? How much can you deadlift? Let's just see what our 1 rep maxes are. Let's go for it full throttle. And they care more about the maximum amount of weight on the bar, which isn't even going to be impressive. It's not even going to be anything spectacular. So it's like, why are we worrying about something that's not even that great right now, when we could worry about the technique and form and get that down with light weights and master that. And then the strength will come, which will allow us to load the bar more and get stronger, you know. So that's what we'll focus on. But we still want to get you stronger in these next few weeks. Like, we definitely don't want to not get you stronger. If you're not getting stronger, something's wrong.
Or I'm doing something wrong.
Right. So, yeah, something's not right. And
we're doing
5. And then the thing too, like I said, also a big deal is if you do start prepping for a meet, the biggest thing is like I tell everybody, like, don't drink. Like, alcohol will throw your body off, either through dehydration or just toxins and muscle fatigue and just overall just feeling like trash and stuff. So that's a huge thing I avoid, because it's like, man, it's only 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give up alcohol for 12 weeks to go and max out, then as soon as you're done lifting, you get back to drinking. You just celebrate, go out and get trashed, you know? So, and you'll get drunk a whole lot easier.
For sure, it'd be a really cheap date after that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I guess I'll let you do yours. Let me watch you on yours real quick.
Okay. Did a couple of practice
Yeah,
ones.
wider stance. Yep.
No weight, just
Yep.
make sure my body remembered.
Yeah, and we're starting her with a safety squat bar over a straight bar just because it's easier for her to handle and understand the form. I'd rather her lower body and like form be on point before we worry about hand placement on the bar. You got to push the hips back. You descend it down. So like drive your hips more back. You're going more, you lean forward. You don't need to lean forward. You need to drive your hips backwards. Don't lean forward at the beginning. Push the hips back. You're leaning forward. You need to push the hips back. There you go. Better, still not good enough. Okay, remember, you're gonna load the hamstrings by pushing the hips back and get them tight. You're gonna take a deep breath, flex your belly, push it out. Big belly, big squat, and then from there, open your knees and descend straight down. Just open the knees. Just push the knees out. Open the knees. Good, 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 good. Much better. Felt better? You pitch forward a little bit coming out the hole.
I can feel that. I'm really concentrating on that. I need to not do that.
Pause at the bottom for a second or two. Don't come right back up. Pause at the, get comfortable being down there. Like,
Also, where my feet are matters. Like, my feet need to be out a little bit.
yeah. You want your knees pointing the direction of you want your feet directing the point. You want your feet to point in the direction that your knees are traveling. Your knees aren't going in front of you, your knees are going out. So you want your feet to be pointed in the direction that you want your knees to go. Yep. Deep breath, belly out, open the knees and descend down. Pause for a second. Pause for a second. Good. Better.
That felt better with my feet in the right place.
Right. You want, like I said, you like imagine your feet are telling your knees where they need to go, and you want your hips to be open. You're not high bar squatting, so you don't want your knees going directly out in front of you. You want them opening up. Open your hips. Whenever you do this, open the knees, drive the knees out, open the hips. Good. Sit down there for a second and get comfortable.
I know that's like half a second down there.
Yep. Get down there for about a second or two. Get comfortable. The first set's always the worst. It's always going to feel the heaviest. Even if you're not squatting anything but the bar, it always feels the heaviest. Much better. That one looked really good. That one looked. Yeah, so with your feet, like I said, imagine your feet are the arrows and your knees are wanting to travel over your feet. You don't want to be like this.
Yeah, I'll do it, my feet are straight. When I go down, my feet are moving. And
Right, so yeah, so if your feet are straight, it's going to make you roll on the outside of your feet. If your feet are out and you let your knees go out in front, you're going to buckle your knees inwards. So you want your knees to travel in the direction of your feet, which allows you, and what you're doing right now, try to do so the camera can see me. No, I'll do it where you can see me. You're doing this, okay? This is not correct. You're just bending over and loading your back. What you want to do is you want to do this. You want to load the hamstrings. You're not loading the hamstrings. You're bending over and you're loading your back. You don't load the back, you load the hamstrings.
Get it where I can feel that pull, which...
Yeah, but you're doing this.
Yes.
You're wanting to lean forward.
Moving my hips.
Right, yeah, you want this to stay still. You don't want your upper body to move. Like, you want your upper body to stay still. You want your hips to go back without your upper body moving. And you don't have to go this big, huge, exaggerated like position like this. if you're squatting, you just want to push the hips into loaded position. And then once you get there from here, all you have to do is literally open your knees and drop straight down and then come back up. And there's your form. You're in position now. You're in perfect position. So now all you have to do is just hold this position, open the knees, drop the hips straight down, hold that, drive back up. And when you drive up, imagine trying to push the floor apart. When you're down, when you're down here, when you're coming up, imagine trying to drive the floor apart. You're trying to push the floor apart, right? You're not just standing up. You're pushing your legs apart. That's going to engage your hips dramatically, and it's going to put. Well, it's just going to engage your hips, and it's going to allow you to drive harder with your hips and your hamstrings. All right, let me do my set real quick. My knee's kind of bugging me today too, real bad. I don't know if it's the weather or my arthritis, and I know I was just talking about drinking, but.
Just your age.
Well, no, like I said, I drank some IPAs this week, and like I do believe I have arthritis, but it travels. Sometimes it's in my hips, sometimes it's in my knees, sometimes it's in my knuckles, and when I drink 2 to 3 days later, is normally whenever my joints start to hurt me real bad. So I'm almost positive like it's. And the IPAs are the worst on me, but I love them so much, but they're the absolute worst on me, and this is kind of like my own fault. So worst weekend to pick before heavy squats. I say heavy very loosely, guys. I'm not saying like I'm breaking any records here and I'm squatting legitimately like heavy weights, but see, I'm high bar squatting, so it's a lot different. So when I squat, I keep my legs closer together, allow my knees to travel out, and I keep upright as much as possible. You're low bar squatting, so you're wider, and you're allowed to pitch forward a little bit more and open your legs more. Different form of squat. There's a difference between a high bar and a low bar, but with the way you're built, with your hips and your lower body, you would be a more dominant, a 10. You're going to be a more dominant low bar squatter than high bar squatter. So when we bodybuild, we're going to work on getting your high bar squat up.
Okay.
But when we're in a powerlifting block, we're going to build your low bar, because your low bar is going to be where all your power is at, because of the way that you're built. So we want to get your low bar squat up for powerlifting. We want to get your high bar squat up to give your body a break from the heavy weights from the low bar squat, if that makes sense.
Work out something different.
Right. It's better. You're letting your hips shoot up. I'll let you finish. But you're not engaging your hamstrings and your low back, and that's why your hips are shooting up, because you're pushing off with your quads, and then your quads can only go so far, and then your hips have to engage afterwards. Yeah, go ahead and finish. I'll explain it to you. Better?
I was better, but I felt the lean.
Better.
I did the floor thing.
Yep, you're engaging your hips better. That engages the glute medius and maximus.
I definitely felt that, like, in a different place.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, so here's something too, okay? What I see a lot of people do, I'm gonna use this box as an example here. So what a lot of people do is when they squat and they're dominant with their quads and they don't know how to use their hamstrings and hips, they'll go down, even if they're low bar squatting, high bar squatting, it doesn't matter. They'll go down, and when they come back up, what happens is they fire with their quads first. And this happens. The butt rises, okay? They don't come up like this. They come up like this because their quads are firing and their knees push back. So their knees drive back because the quads fire and the hips shoot up. Now, this position here, your quads can't go any further. So now you're gonna muscle up the weight with your glutes and your hamstrings and your back. Your back, your glutes, and your hamstrings now have to engage. So you see this happen. You'll see them go like this, bam, and then you'll see like this rocky back and forth deal. Reason being is their muscles are firing. Quads, hamstrings, quads, glutes, quads, back. Because they're trying to drive with their quads, but their back muscles, the back, the glutes, and the hamstrings are firing. And they're trying to like engage, but they don't know how to keep them tight and they don't know how to keep them engaged. Watch someone squat and their hips shoot. They almost always do this every single time. It's because this is not tight. So when I tell you to push back and you do this and then you squat, you are still engaging your quads only, and you fire with your quads, and now you're muscling and trying to get your body to fire correctly. You're not working at the same time. So if your hamstrings and everything was loaded and tight, when you go down and you come back up, everything's firing together. So you're gonna move as one unit. Try to think of this. As the knees are driving back, the hips have to drive forward. Your hips are driving up like this, and your knees are driving back like that. And when you do it at the same time, it looks like that, right? So this is a bow right here. Now imagine firing that arrow, boop. This is a bow right here. Now imagine firing that arrow, boop, right? Now do them together at the same time. You move together at the same time. Yep, but like I said, but if you only fire with your quads, your butt comes up, and then you try to transition the load.
Stepping the barbell up on the bench because
So this is a huge problem a lot of people have, and they get stuck and they don't understand like why they're getting stuck or why is it so hard or why am I not making progress, and they don't know how to analyze their own lift. Yeah. And I can tell right off the bat, you're firing with your quads and you're not even using your hips and your hamstrings. Once you learn how to use them at the same time, it changes everything on that lift. You'll see it a lot in high bar squatters too. High bar squatters have the biggest problem with that because they're quad dominant lifters. So they don't think they have to engage their hips and their hamstrings. And you'll see it when their quads max out and their hips and hamstrings have to come into play. Huh? Yeah, I'm going up to 45.
A plate.
A plate, yes. Going to a plate.
I learned that is the correct. That's the street name.
Yep. It's the gym lingo. If anybody's wondering what these are just wood clamps. from Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store. They're just wood clamps. It's just easier to collar than using spring collars. I wouldn't use them on deadlifts, but definitely on squats and bench makes it easy to load and just clip them on.
All quads.
Yep. You can see the shake in the hips. Open the knees, sink the hips down. Hang out for a second. Now spread the floor apart. You pitch forward, your hip shot.
I did, but I didn't use my quads as much.
But you did though because your hip shot up first. If you roll off the pad and your hips come up first, you're shooting up with your quads and allowing your butt to raise. Good.
Still a lot of quads.
Yeah, but it looked better. You got weak hamstrings and hips, which is common. Almost everybody has a problem with their hamstrings and hips.
Yeah, okay, that was rough.
So look, come here. Stand right here at the edge of this. Actually, here, I'm gonna do you over here so they can see you on camera. Look, come stand on this platform, put your heels there,
Okay,
and then without moving your upper body, get your butt to touch the ball.
okay.
Get your butt to touch the wall. Without moving your upper body. Just get your butt and then take a few steps forward and then try to keep this still and just push back and see how far you can push and then look down and see if you're still over your toes. And if you're doing this and you're not touching that wall, so start off with your heels against the back. Bring your heels forward, all the way on the edge, Yeah, yeah.
But in a wide stance like I would.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now come forward like maybe 2 inches. Do it again. Deep breath, flex, and now push your hips back. Look at how far you had to go.
That was a long way.
Yeah, and look at how because you kept leaning like this.
Yeah.
So it felt like you're going further than you were. Push the hips back.
Also feel like I'm falling.
And you barely even moved forward like 1.5 inches. Load. You're getting closer. Load it. Load your hamstrings. Load. Good. Look at that. And now from there, all you'd have to do is open the knees. That's all you have to do. Do it again.
Moving too much, huh?
Yeah, you're leaning forward a good bit. Push the hips back. Hips. You learn how to do that, you're going to be a much more efficient low bar squatter because you have to learn how to push your hips back. You can bend your knees a little bit. Don't be afraid to bend.
I think that's what I'm thinking of, keeping my knees
No,
straight.
you don't have to keep your knees. You can bend your knees to an extent.
Like that?
A little bit, not so much. Yeah, like that. Just a very little.
Just enough to take
Yeah, straight.
almost
Yeah,
like the pressure
yeah,
off.
straight. Stand up straight. Take a deep breath. Now start pushing your hips back, and then allow the knees to break just a little bit. Yep. Allow them to break. I mean, because even if you have to come back like this a little bit, and you're slightly bent, and then that's fine because your lockout's still going. The starting position when you're in a meet is going to be like this. Start, and then you can start pushing back. Allow the knees to start breaking, and then once you feel your knees breaking, that's your position there. Now you stop. Your hamstrings are as loaded as much as they're going to be. Now from here, all you do is open up the knees and descend straight down because you have a vertical shin. So like I said, push the hips back. Then once you feel the knees starting to want to come down and they're starting to break, that's your squat position. And then from there, you just open the knees and drop. In the beginning, you're gonna have to take time to do this in movements, right? Okay, let me push the, okay, there I am. Now, step 2, open the knees, descend down. Then once you learn it, it's just gonna be, and you're gonna do it. You don't have to think about it, you're just gonna do it. But you have to break it down into 2 sections. At least this is what I have to do for a lot of people I've trained for the low bar squat, for them to understand the position and technique. You got to load the if you can't feel the hamstrings and hips loading and engaging, you're not going to use them. But when I teach people, look, push the hips back, push them back until you can't no more and they're tight. And now, if you have to bend your knees a little bit from stiffness, that's okay. But once you feel that hard stretch all the way through the back, from the small of your back to the back of your knee, your hamstrings are loaded. Now all you have to do is keep that tightness and descend and hold all that tension. And now whenever you're down that hole, you're wound up like a spring. Everything's ready to fire forward. And now all you have to do is just fire with the quads and let the hamstrings do what they're already loaded to do. And everybody learns differently, and everybody learns from different cues and techniques. So I'm not going to say this is the only way you can learn, but this is one of the more effective ways that I've learned that most people catch on easier. And the belt squat is a really good tool to learn this too.
Yeah.
The belt squat is a really good tool to learn how to low bar squat, because you do it without the fear of falling.
Yes. No, yours is so fluid. It's like you've done this a time or two before.
Yeah, just once or twice. I've done a couple reps, you know. So let's push the hips back until you feel the knee wanting to bend. And then from there, open the knees and drop down. Don't forget, deep breath. Push your abs out. Once you start pushing back, you better have a deep breath. You don't get a deep breath when you're in position. You get a deep breath before you're in position.
That felt better on my legs. Did it not look right?
No, it looked better.
Didn't say anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, it looked better. Deep breath. Yep, push back. Push the hips back until you feel the knees wanting to come, like break on their own. You went up smooth on that one. Everything fired together.
I felt that in my hamstrings.
Yep.
Coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, push the hips back until you feel them wanting to break the knee over. Yep. You came up together. That's good.
It's that bend in the knee that I think is the breaking point for me, you know what I mean?
Good. Looking better. I put a little bit of weight on there, even if it's just a 2.5 or something.
Okay.
I would start going up because it does feel different with weight. So I need to get some new knee sleeves as well. Yeah.
Sorry, quarter.
You can call it whatever you want. Yeah, I got a whole lot of mental blocks, man, because I tore my ACL when I was young, and I re-hurt it. I ruptured it like 2 years ago, and then I tore this groin twice. I've torn this one once. So I got all these issues in this area here. And every time I squat, I'm just like, oh, please don't tear, please don't tear, please don't tear, please don't tear.
Tearing your groin, you don't do anything for that, right? You just give it time to let it heal.
I've never done nothing for it.
Right.
I tore the shit out of it. I've never done nothing for it. I had bruises that covered my whole entire thigh from knee to groin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's a hell of an injury. You don't realize how much you use that muscle till you tear it.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about putting my squat shorts on, my briefs, my squat briefs, just to kind of help take some of that tension off of that area, but
All ones. Big one.
yeah, I'd load some fives on there. I'm debating, like I said, if I want to put my shorts on, my squat briefs, or if I want to just ride it out, maybe put my knee sleeves or my knee wraps on my top set.
Well, if you think it'll help you not get hurt,
Yeah, because like I said, I'm not training for a meet, and I just don't want to get hurt. So, but
underoos on.
yeah, at the same time though, it's like I want to be able to do it without them too, you know. But like I feel so dried out right now, like my body feels like super dry.
Yeah, we're definitely on an off day, but we're still working out.
Yeah, we're definitely on an off day. That's no lie. We are definitely, and I know it's because I drank Saturday. I was in the pool all day, and those IPAs. I'm probably not going to be doing that again for a while. I'll probably want to wait to the river till I drink again, and then when I get back, I'll be cutting it back out. Get back training serious.
Yeah.
Can't train like this and put poison in your body, you know.
Yeah, it's just fighting against us in here.
Yeah, I mean, some people can. I can't speak for everybody, but I've never been one that could. Yeah, I'm gonna inch my way up. I like to be able to squat back in the 300s, but like I said, I'm not in a rush to get to anything. So I'm gonna be inching my way up, just try to slowly get my numbers back up because honestly, I really would like to get it 225 on the bench again for reps, 405 on the deadlift for reps, and 315 on the squat for reps again. Because I feel like that's a respectable number. It's not anything impressive or magnificent or anything to be go around peacocking. Be like, look at the numbers I put up. I mean, honestly, in the world of powerlifting, those numbers they're trash. You know, they're absolute trash. But for your average day-to-day life, and plus, if I can lift that heavy on those lifts, I can lift a lot heavier on other lifts, and that'll just help my bodybuilding too. Because a stronger muscle always has the potential of being a bigger muscle. A bigger muscle has the potential of being a stronger muscle. So, kind of like yin and yang and everything.
Are they 1 or 5?
You just start hitting singles now. Because you are going to go up tonight a little bit heavier and stuff like that. So, hey. Just so you know, I am recording. I don't care if you're on camera. I just want to let you know. Remember, deep breath. Push your abs out. Load the hamstrings. When you're ready, open up the hips, descend straight down, and then spread the floor apart. Push the floor apart. Good.
Well, that one felt good.
Yep.
Felt better. I feel like I'm lifting 200 pounds. I got these little thighs on. How's the night? Good. You know what to do now?
Yeah, they leave Thursday. So I just have to go there Thursday evening. Meet them and then Friday, Saturday.
Can you hand me that 2.5?
Yeah.
But I should have just told him.
Friday gets home. We're gonna hang out with the other Friday. The neighbor guy.
Yeah. Oh my God, these ribs make me realize I have to really work on my hamstring.
Like I said, every single second I'm under that bar, only thing I'm thinking of is don't tear, don't tear, don't tear, don't tear, don't tear. God, don't tear, don't tear, don't tear. Especially when it comes to my knee. Like I'm terrified of it blowing out, but you know, I have a saying.
Oh yeah, if I dislocate my left knee again, I have to have surgery.
Yeah, I don't know how much more my knee has in it. 38 years abusing the piss out of it, so.
Well, y'all have so much fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Love y'all.
Oh, I love you too, kiddo. Could have been better.
Could have been better. You gonna do it again?
Nope. Go to the 10s.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
I'm going to. Man, I don't know. I know I did 225 for 5 last week.
What are you at right now?
225. I'm going to do this for a single, then I'm going to go up to 235 for my top set. Which again, isn't nothing, but you know, whenever I ruptured my ACL 2 years ago, I could barely walk for like 3 months. I couldn't do any leg workouts for almost 5 months, and the stuff that I did was very, very, very minimal. And then finally, I could start lifting again, but I was still very cautious and had to go very light. I'm talking about like maybe, 50 pounds on the hack squats, maybe 75 on the belt squats. And my belt squats went from in the 400s down into the 100s. My hack squats went from like the high 300s for sets of 20, may I add, down to like sets of like 10 in the hundreds, like maybe 75 pounds, 100 pounds for sets of 10. And that would flare my knee up and I'd hurt for 3 days and I'd be limping. So it took me a very long time. Same thing working out my hamstrings and my hips. It took me to pretty much where I am now, like 2.5 years from whenever I hurt it, to be able to actually work out and not agitate it. But I can't go deep on hack squats no more, because if I do, it agitates my knee. And I find whenever I train my calves and my calves get tight, it pulls on my ACL from the back of my knee. So it pulls the ACL from the back of my knee and it causes my knee to hurt. So I had to be very cautious how I train my calves. So a lot of people like to dip their heels down. I can't dip. I have to keep my feet flat and then up. If I let my heel dip down, yeah, and then my knee flares for the next 2 to 3 days. So there's a lot of fear in the back of my mind about injuring my knee. Then it's just like, how worth it is this? I could do belt squats, I could do hack squats, I could do leg extensions, and I could still build my legs up. I don't have to squat, and with those, there's limiting factors that doesn't allow me to go too deep. That's gonna hurt my knee. With squats, I've always sunk all the way down as deep as I could go. I'm just a deep squatter. I love squatting deep. And I don't have nothing against guys that hit depth just right at and they come back up. Hey, that's great. But me, I've always loved seeing. I never leave it to the judges. Like, was that depth? Did he go low enough? Was that deep enough? I think I'm gonna red light it, because I can't really. Nope. For me, every single time, like the judges, there's no questions. Like, yeah, that was definitely low enough. So. But at the flip side too, it can bug on my knee. And then if I go too deep, I'm afraid if I go too deep and stress my knee and flex it, I'm gonna blow my ACL out too. And then have to have surgery and all that.
Yeah, we ain't got time or money for that.
All right, so that's why I'm just gonna be very cautious. But I think the fear also keeps me safe too, right? It keeps me from getting stupid with it and doing something extreme. And I think
Plus
that.
you have to answer to Julia.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the fear keeps me safe, and I think it's a very powerful tool to keep me where I'm within my realm of reality and not of hopes and dreams. I'm never going to be a world record breaker or like some type of record holder, and I'm okay with that. But like, there's just a certain standard that I want to keep myself to,
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel bad on my back. I don't even feel it in my knees, but it's just knowing what's happened previously before. And the older you get, the more brittle you get. It's not like you get less brittle. So this is gonna be my top sit here at 235. I'm gonna go for another 5. Now if Al's actually training for a meet, we wanna keep hitting weeks of 5. So you'll go 5. Next week you come in for heavy squats, 4. Next week you come in 3. Next week you come in 2. Next week you come in 2 singles with the same weight. And then you'll come back in and do a single. And then that's it. And then you deload and then you hit your meet. You don't keep coming in doing sets of 5. It's just right now, I'm not trying to peak. I'm just trying to see kind of where I'm at. Because as the weights go up, the reps come down to offset your fatigue, so you can keep moving forward on your peak. Remember, push the floor, push the floor, push the floor.
That pushing the floor thing helps.
Put these old worn out knee sleeves on. They're so worn out, they don't do much, but nothing else, it just gives me a...
If anything, it's just like a security blanket.
Right, yeah, it's like a peace of mind. I kind of like...
Be right back.
Yep. So stupid, man, because it's such lightweight. It's the squat, man. I've been hurt so many times on it. And it's like one of those things too, like you got these football players and these basketball players that are absolutely amazing. And they have the heart, but then it's like they hurt their groin or their hamstring and then they're done. Like once you get a hamstring or a groin injury, it's so easy to re-tear it and re-hurt it. And you'll see them season after season, re-tear it, re-injure it, out for another 6 weeks, tore, hurt groin, torn groin, need surgery on hamstring. Like you see it happen so many times. And players just like over and over and over again, then once that injury happens, you just see the downward spiral. They don't play the way they play, they don't push the way they push, and then even backing off the way they played and push, they still end up hurting themselves and stuff like that. So, and you can see the fear on the field when they play too, because they don't play the same way they used to play. I mean, it's
paranoid the whole time.
and here's the thing, it's not about the pain. I can tell you right now, I'm not afraid of the pain from blowing an ACL. That'll stop. I know it'll hurt like hell, but eventually it's going to stop hurting. I'm not worried about the pain from my groin tearing. I'm not worried about that. What scares me is the downtime. Like how long until I recover? How long until I can get back to it? How long until I can start being active again? How long? It's like, cool, so I hurt for 4 or 5 hours of severe agonizing pain. Now that's over with. Cool, whatever. Now, how long until I could get back to what I want to do? And then it's like, oh, now you're looking at 6 months or 9 months or a year. And then it's just like, crap, man.
It's depressing.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yep. So and that's why I'm kind of 50-50 on, man. I think I might start squatting with a box so that way I could keep myself from going too deep as well. But then again, I want to train my knee to be able to get to full flexion and have that full range of motion, that strength there again like I used to. I want to get that back, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I ever can. Am I going to push it and hurt it? Or will I push it and heal it?
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, just the thoughts of a gym rat, And there's a point where it becomes diminishing returns, like where it's like it's no longer worth it to train like that. But I don't think what I'm squatting is unreasonable for what I want, Being able to squat in the 300s again, I don't think that's unreasonable. It's not.
What is this right now?
This is 235. Light. Just that damn fear, Like I said, it's not the pain that scares me. Like it's never been about the pain.
Knock on your ass.
When I tore my pec, it hurt like shit, but hell, it only hurt for a couple hours and then I was done. It didn't hurt no more. Like, oh, cool. And then the long road of recovery, that's the worst part.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
This is the life.
Like I said, it doesn't feel heavy on my back either. It doesn't feel bad when I'm lifting it. Nothing hurts. It's just,
It's all in your head.
yeah, it's 100% in here. Like I start thinking about so much, I can feel my groin throbbing before I even get under the bar. Like I can feel my knee throbbing. I can feel my groin throbbing. Then I get underneath it, and then that all stops. It's just, like I said, it's,
Yeah. All mental.
I don't know if anyone else out there is going through that, but it's a son of a gun. There ain't nothing fun about it. They say those that can't teach, and that's kind of where I feel myself at right now, like more on the lines of coaching people over actually doing, just because my body can't perform like it used to. And also, it's not just the weightlifting that beat my body up. I used to do skateboarding and BMX, and I beat the living hell out of my body skateboarding, doing stair gaps, and then BMXing, hitting ramps and jump, missing ramps. That's how I hyperextended my knee the first time. I was coming around this corner, I hit this ramp, and I shot too far over. I missed the landing pad, and I was leaning way over, and instead of just tucking and hitting the ground, I put my leg out of habit, and I snapped my knee backwards and hyperextended.
Could have gone my whole life without it.
And then I never had surgery on it. We didn't have insurance. My mom couldn't afford it. Doctor said I'd never walk again without a limp if I didn't have surgery. Took me 9 months. I rehabbed it myself at 14 years old. Took me 9 months to walk without crutches. And then I started riding bicycles again, working my knee out. Yep. And then after 2 years, I was back to skateboarding and BMXing. And I started working out when I was 14, my upper body, because I couldn't BMX or skateboard no more. So that's when I got into weightlifting.
I'm doing this for 5, right? Is this my top, or am I doing
Yes.
one and we'll try again?
Yeah, we'll do this as your top. Your hip shot up.
Yeah, I felt that queen.
Okay. Deep breath. Push your abs out. Brace. Load your hips. Load the hamstrings. Push back, 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 back. Open the knees. Break straight down. Straight out. Pause, 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 pause. Now pause a little bit longer. You're not in a rush to get out of there. You want to get comfortable. Make that your home down there. Get familiar with that feeling of being in that hole.
I am in a rush to get out of here.
No, you're not. You are not in a rush. Deep breath. Flex your abs. Push your belly out. Load the hips, 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 hips. Open the knees. Down, down, down. Pause, pause, pause. Drive, drive. Good. Don't forget to spread the floor. You have to spread the floor. All right, one more. Deep breath. Push your belly out. Real tight and hard. Hips. Load them, load them, load them. Knees. Descend down. Pause, pause, pause. Spread the floor, spread the floor. Good. So that last one, you let your hips shot up a little bit. But again, I think one of your biggest issues is your hamstrings and your hips are just weak, to be honest. That's a big telltale the way that you're lifting. I truly believe it's just your hips and your hamstrings are just really, really weak. And you're going to continue to perform like that.
Where did I get this from? Oh, right here. Just hang on.
Yep. So I believe that you're going to continue to perform in that kind of manner until we build up your hip and your hamstring. I mean, don't get me wrong, we can learn your form and technique, but when we start loading the bar, that's whenever we can really see where your form's starting to break down.
How much weight was
That was 70. So here's the thing too. So a lot of people get caught up in the idea of we have to go heavy, 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 heavy. We don't always have to go heavy to build the main lift. So like I said, the first time I ever deadlifted over 500, I never worked out with more than 400, 420, like 415, 405. The most I was deadlifting was like 420, 425 for sets of 3, sets of 5. And then I deadlifted in the 5s. First time I ever pulled over 600, I was only deadlifting like maybe like 495 for like sets of 3 to 5. And then I pulled in the 6s. Same thing for my heaviest squats. When I squatted 485, I never actually lifted with more than 300, 315. And I squatted almost 500. This teaches technique and technicality, right? Everything else we do builds this up. You work backwards. I want to get my squat stronger, so what gets that stronger? What gets that stronger? What gets that stronger? What gets that stronger? And all of these build up to this. You can only do this and you will get strong at it, but the problem is you're going to develop weak areas, and that's how you get hurt, and that's when you're going to hit a wall and not progress no more. So you have to figure out what movements you can do to get this stronger, so this you don't have to fatigue yourself on, because the heavier and the harder you go on this, the more fatigued you're going to be, and it's going to make your training way harder to recover from. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. Leave a comment if you want. If you don't, who cares, whatever. Hope you enjoyed it. If not, I will enjoy watching it later. Anyways, thanks for watching.